Hey friends, it's me, Pastor Doug, with another word of encouragement for the day for today, Tuesday, January 12th. And today's word comes out of Matthew chapter 12, verses 15 all the way through verse 21. And in it, we continue our exploration of this topic of power, and specifically how Jesus leveraged his power in a way that surprised and shocked his contemporaries. Matthew describes some things that Jesus did, and then he reaches all the way back 700 years and borrows language from the prophet Isaiah to describe God's anointing on Jesus. Listen to what Matthew says. He says that Jesus was aware of this, and so he withdrew from that place. A large crowd followed him, and he healed all who were ill. And then he warned them not to tell others about him. Now that's interesting, so we'll come back to that in a minute. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. Now Matthew begins to quote Isaiah, who is prophesying God's word over the Messiah. Here is my servant, God says, whom I have chosen, the one I love and whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, speaking of Jesus, and he, Jesus, will proclaim justice to the nations. He will not quarrel or cry out. No one will hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out until he has brought justice through to victory. In his name, the nations will put their hope. Now, this passage is so interesting because it's such a paradox. On one hand, you have these really power-packed words like bringing victory and justice and inspiring hope. And these are big power-packed words that typically we associate with strong, powerful, revolutionary type leaders, right? Leaders who sweep into the world stage and gain the attention and the notoriety of the people and lead these big revolutions and these big changes. And in a way, that's what Jesus set out to accomplish, but he does it in a paradoxical way. And this passage captures that because this passage also talks about the idea that the Messiah will be so gentle that a bruised reed he won't break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. He's not going to be quarrelsome. He's not going to be shouting on the streets, "Look at me." And Matthew is saying, man, Jesus came with all of this power, but he wasn't domineering. He came with hope, but he didn't coerce or force. He came to accomplish victory, but not to dominate. And so in this passage, we see this beautiful paradox of the way that Jesus leveraged his power to serve others. He leveraged his power to invite the flourishing of the people around us. He used his power against injustice, but not to create a new kingdom of a new form of injustice. He brought justice, hope, peace, and victory, but he didn't trample on people. Friends, this week, as you think about the areas in your life that you have power, at home, at school, in your friend group, with a younger sibling, or your friend group, may you learn to leverage your power the way that Jesus leveraged power. This paradoxical way of having power, but using it in a way that invites the flourishing and the blessing of the people around you. May you use your power to serve. Friends, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.